Welcome back to Dum-Dums and Dragons, where improvisers who've never roleplayed before journey into the world of Dungeons and Dragons. I am the Great Wizard Bukake, your host. Our heroes are under attack by gerbils as they move through the mines. Mrs. Paisley tried to communicate with the beasts but failed. Butthole was thrown off of a cliff but saved by a terrified Reginald. And Quinny saved Doc Huckleberry and kept the gerbils back with eldritch blasts. Can they survive their ongoing journey through gerbil-infested caverns? Find out next on Dum-Dums and Dragons.
You are currently within a cloud of tiny buttholes just swirling around you, hanging on to their little hammers like a bunch of flatulent Mary Poppins. And you're making your way across a massive bridge with a chasm reaching beneath you in a spooky, spooky mine on your way into a car. So, having survived the initial onslaught of the feared gerbils, you are now hauling ass, as I believe we determined last episode. We were dubbing this out of here into this sort of deeper into the mine. Butthole, you summoned your Hammer Guardians just at the end of last episode there. Was the intent to make your way tactically across the bridge, or to then sprint across the bridge with hammers flying around you?
Butthole was figuring tactically. It's really hard to keep a group of this size running and all together. So more like if they're going to come at us, the hammers will slow them down. The hammers will hurt them. The hammers are bright. It might scare them away just to get us into a tunnel. The hammers are good for up to 10 minutes. So they've got like a pretty good stretch here of some defense, as long as he doesn't get tagged. Just his concentration.
Are these like golden? I'm just trying to imagine it's a weird pull, but like, in my head, there's those levels in Donkey Kong Country where you can get like the little spinning golden versions of whatever creature you're riding. Is it like that? Like they're little like golden?
Yeah, golden yellow light as a lot of his magic has begun to shift over to the flavor of.
Okay, so very much like the butt hammer glow.
Are they wearing your armor, or are they like naked buttholes?
Oh no, they're wearing the armor.
Buttholes? Okay.
They're in the whole deal. It's not a butthole on a butthole here. It's one bit.
Yep. All right, great. So that means I need to roll some dice.
What, because they're clothed? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need to roll for
roll
disappointment because that's just the stock standard. No, I have to roll for something else that I can't tell you about just yet. Cool. So that was Butthole's turn. We were kind of out of initiative order, I believe. This all kind of happened on Quinny's round.
Yeah, we had that little convo and then kind of got back into things.
Yeah.
Yep.
I accomplished a lot on my turn.
So I'm going to take a belated then gerbil turn because you missed one. But that's fine. The gerbil does not appear. Okay, so Butthole, that was your turn.
What? Oh, God.
Brings us to gerbil turn. No gerbil appears. Mrs. Paisley, you're moving kind of with the team. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Is there anything you'd want to be doing? I think we've established that everyone is obviously moving forward, and I know you've got your spider legs popped on the combat wheelchair right now, so you're skittering rather than rolling. Because Butthole's cast the Hammer Guardians, there's kind of an immediate defense going on, which is great.
Yeah.
But I'm curious if there's anything else you would be doing as
I transform back into Juniper just because her reach is a little bit longer. So for wielding the sword and making attacks if she has to, it's just smarter to do that.
Cool. Can you roll me d6?
A death stare. Laura really knows how to get the DM on her side. That's one of her greatest strengths.
It's too late. We're so far beyond that. It's a 5.
Okay, great. So Juniper's got better reach. She's got the sword skittering along. Is there anything else you'd want to be doing?
I would just be wanting to stay kind of in the center of everyone, just to give everyone like my auras of protection and warding and courage.
Okay, great.
Keep Reginald unfrightened, for the love of God.
But not completely unfrightened. That'll weaken him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. That's just like
the
sub-objective we can't get rid of on our status bar. It's just like keep Reginald from running the fuck away. It's like, oh man, I really want to wrap that quest up, but it says wait. I don't know. Just an itch we can't scratch. Okay, great. So that's Juniper.
God, he's just Falco in Star Fox. Just every time.
Everybody do a barrel roll.
Yeah.
That was a good pull, Laura. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, so one of the gerbils emerges from one of the sort of high gaps that you saw. Emerges from the darkness, trailing. Like guts is the wrong term, but there's like flesh hanging off of it where the gunshot hit it. And you can see it's trailing an arm that's kind of bouncing along with the pistol still clutched in the hand. That's kind of like tangled up in its teeth, one of the wires. So it's just kind of trailing it like a weird, like its own little pet. So it emerges from the alcove. And again, there's like as a blur, but it comes to a screeching halt at the edge of that ledge, because again, there's like little kind of ledges all around. It comes to a screeching halt and recoils at the golden light.
Okay.
And you can see it's. Who's got? Who would be what? Like Juniper, you're watching. Butthole, you're concentrating on the hammers. But like, who would be on the lookout for things? Do we think right now?
Probably Reginald, Juniper, and Quinny, I would imagine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Goblin Jr.'s just hanging out. You know, Goblin Jr. doesn't exactly look for stuff.
Doc is here also with significantly less arms.
Okay. I need nature checks, please. From those of you who feel like you would have... Those of you who feel like you could ascertain something from an animal's behavior. So if you're not that... Like, Doc Huckleberry does not know shit about animals, so he's not going to roll one.
Would you allow animal handling?
Yeah, actually, I absolutely would. Yep, you can take
That's
that one.
A 10.
Cool. The good news is you do have Goblin Jr. with you, and normally he only allows rerolls on attacks, but I'd let you take a reroll here because he can be adding his snarfy wisdom.
I rolled a 16 nature check.
Reginald got a 9. These are gerbils.
With advantage, I got 11.
Snarf!
A little bit more.
Cool. So
Goblin Jr. doesn't care for them. That's all you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of like there's a lot of commentary about the lack of fur and how stupid they look without it from Goblin Jr. Cool. So inexplicably, Quinny's the only one who can get a read on these animals.
I was going to say, Goblin Jr. would normally be helpful, but you did cast Speak with Animals, so you just have Goblin Jr. literally talking at you about how Goblin Jr. doesn't like the gerbils.
Hey, yeah. You know what? Look at these guys. I like it. Like, where's your fur, bud? Get some fur. Or, you know, if you don't need it, dress better. What's going on with it? Just put in some effort. That's all. Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm being unfair. Like, so Juniper, you're like, this is you don't disagree, but it is taking up a lot of mental space. Quinny, you see this thing bolt like at you with great abandon, and then it screeches to a halt, recoils, and you almost see. Like a little bit like if you throw a ball over a dog's head and the dog is already midair and it just with everything in its power shifts its weight to try and catch the ball. It recoils, but then it almost like leaps and writhes a bit. Again, we're very much into like weasel territory of like the length of this thing as it almost like turns over itself to try and get back at you. And you see it. It's a very unnatural movement. Basically, it's like from your perspective, from your nature roll, you can absolutely like. There's like a piece missing here for you, which is it running makes sense. It recoiling makes sense. It having this odd reaction to try and reattack while also kind of like recoiling from what it's seeing is confusing.
All right, everyone. The weird man with a whistle theory may still be in play here. These creatures are not acting exclusively like just wild rabid beasts. Case in point, this guy over here running away and then immediately coming back to try and get us again makes no sense. Goblin Jr., do you hear anything like high pitch that maybe we aren't hearing?
No, not really. Hear a lot of scrabbling. It seems like they're moving, between tunnels and stuff. But I think you guys already knew that. But no, I'm not hearing anything too weird. Although, it's kind of hard to hear in here. I mean, it's probably lost on your ears, but for me, the echoes in here are crazy. It deadens everything a little bit, because the sound is just constantly there's just a wall of sound everywhere, Honestly, the only like loud thing I heard was that bang. That bang was awful.
Okay.
Snarf. I mean,
He's just a doggo.
Just wonderful response to that tactical assessment. Just
to be clear, was that Laura or Juniper? I just want to be 100%.
It's 100% Laura.
I know, but eventually
Laura.
This will cross over into Juniper, and I can't wait.
The sounds reverberating all around you. The only thing that really got through was that gunshot. Oh, such stinky little puppers. It's you. Yeah, it's you. Thanks, I guess.
And Butthole just looks down and goes, yeah, I know. It's pretty loud. I don't really like it either. And Juniper and Quinny, you both realize that Butthole has not cast Speak with Animals. He can just understand what Goblin Jr. is saying from Snarfs.
There was a long stretch where Quinny believed that Butthole was just, like, putting words in his mouth. But then, the relationship between the two, years ago, Quinny drew the conclusion that for some reason these two can communicate. Yeah.
Yeah, it's less a Han and Chewie thing and more like a Luke and R2 bit, where it's like, woo, and Luke's like, you're right. We probably should go check on the others and then also see if our gear's still there. I'm like, wow, 2 beeps, huh?
Yep.
Jesus.
All right. I think it's time to start entertaining that some of that wonderful underground psychic stuff might be at play here too, Nasty mind control stuff that we had going on in the Underdark. Something like that might be going on here too.
I hate to say it, but what the fuck are you talking about?
I am going to tell you just enough to motivate you to stay with the group and carry on the mission.
Okay, that's a good choice. Why shouldn't I run off on my own and abandon you?
Juniper inches closer towards Reginald just to make sure her aura of courage is like fully enveloping him.
Because there are man-shaped creatures down here with squids for heads that can control you psychically and suck your brain out of your head.
Oh, those. Okay, yeah, we have those at home. I mean, they're kind of nasty, but you can negotiate with them. They've got some sort of plan from another realm where they seem to have some sort of squid god. If you say the right thing and then you just offer up sacrifices, I mean, maybe we should just give them one of this group. I don't know who, and he's just quietly pointing to Doc Huckleberry while hiding his gesture behind his shoulder.
And I have to assume that Doc Huckleberry, being in this group of people who have known each other for years and been on harrowing adventures together, must be like, oh, it's me, okay.
Yeah, except
I can only assume.
His version of that is just making sure that his guns aren't up, but are close to up. Because he's not a nice man. Like, it's cool that he's tagging along and stuff, but like Reginald doesn't, it's not exactly like, oh yeah, Leanna, like you really care about your craft and other people come with us. Reginald's like, oh, you're the scariest scumbag I can find. Welcome aboard. Sleep where I sleep, eat where I eat. But yes, he's 100% the one guy on Cannibal Mountain who knows he's the most succulent guy on Cannibal Mountain. So he's got his guns up and he's like, yeah, the dog, right?
Well, that's not option A. So let's all just relax and carry on across this bridge.
And Reginald is trying to map out whether or not that's a lie because he knows how good a liar Quinny is, and he can't tell. Legitimately, is like that could be Plan A or it could not be Plan A. He's gonna play it smart, so he just gives Quinny a knowing wink, and then moves forward.
Quinny's perturbed by that, but doesn't acknowledge it. Just what it got him going. It got him to carry on. Whatever.
Great. So we're at the top of the round. We are halfway across-ish because we Calvin balled what's going on in initiative wars and everything else. Reginald, you've just heard talk of illithids, but I mean, you're, I think, kind of relieved that it's just like...
What does Reginald call the illithids, though?
like, probably by their names. He knows a bunch of them. Like,
I thought it would be gerbil equivalent.
Like, sir.
Yeah.
From the sounds of it.
I mean, listen, right now you're asking in theory. You have a Reginald and you are characters in this scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, Juniper wouldn't waste the time to ask.
Yeah, I like the judgments I've made about him behind his back.
So you've heard about the illithids, or as you call them, illithids. Yeah, I guess what I'm really digging for here is, do we need to do a roll to see if you maintain your composure? I feel like
everybody seems really worried that Reginald is going to abandon them by running into the darkness full of gerbils, which is not a very Reginald move. So Reginald is kind of confused why they feel like they have to scare him more into not leaving the party, because he's like, before you get to the mine, maybe. After we get out of the mine, maybe. Here, the worst time to run in the history of running.
Yeah.
So he's pretty focused moving forwards. But what he does do is take out like a handkerchief and rip it in half and fold it up and jam it into both of his nostrils, and then he takes out some like little like cheaply made sunglasses and puts those on, because then the illithids can't get into his nose to his brain, and he's got something to block their vision if they try to hypnotize him. So he's got like strategies from having dealt with them before.
I deeply love, I mean, you all know my love of pocket sand, and the idea that Dale Gribble in King of the Hill just walks around with sand in his pocket in case he has to pocket sand someone. This is the equivalent of that, which is you've been carrying tiny sunglasses around, probably not for the sun, but just in case.
Oh yeah, they are illithid based is the problem.
Yeah,
So
this is a very like Benny and the Mummy, just having every religious icon to test. Like, I love it. Yeah, good stuff. I'm giving you a point of inspiration for that level of paranoia and and cowardice.
Good
I love it deeply. Anything that makes me think about the Mummy gets a point of inspiration. Cool. So you do that. Is there anything else you would do on your turn?
He's just going to be, I think, holding action with the flaming warhammer, which he wants to keep between him and anything that he sees. If they're afraid of the golden light, they can't like fire. He's got fire that's on a pole that he can keep like 4 feet away from himself and hit them with, which all sounds great.
Yep, I dig that. Okay, Quinny.
Keeping eyes and ears open, but really we're moving together as a unit. I think he'll delay action as well. He's got 2 repelling blasts locked and loaded. For anyone who tries to get close, he can push him back.
Great. Speaking of people you can push back. All right. One of the gerbils skitters up one of the crevice walls. However, it is spooked by the light, and you see that it, rather than like running up and like aborting its attack like the other one did, it just kind of comes halfway up and does that like lizard thing like the geckos do, where it just kind of like stays on the edge, which is like very unnerving for different reasons. But you can see its head kind of like tilt back at a vaguely unnatural angle. Like based on the way this thing's spine looks, it shouldn't really tilt that way. It kind of cranks its head back to stare at you.
Quinny's just saying, yep, I'm thinking mind control may be a bigger and bigger option here, folks.
I should ask, 2 of you have held actions. This gerbil is on the wall. It's not coming any closer, but it is ranged attackable if you are holding a ranged attack.
Quinny's saving his push for anything that breaches the protection.
Fair enough.
Just Reginald's carrying a great weapon.
To smack an animal,
Juniper
he's not going
rolled
to
a
trade.
1 on
This feels like
initiative, so...
This feels like a distraction gerbil. Reginald's like, they show us that one, and then they come at us from behind.
Clever gerbil. All right. Cool. Into that. Butthole.
Butthole's just going to keep the group moving. His whole thing is keeping this spell active, focused, moving along the bridge, and just kind of like gently corralling people around him to make sure that they're at the inner center of the circle, kind of right with him. So they can keep focused outwards. He's just using a hand to kind of steer them along with him.
Yeah, it's a shame none of them have played video games because there's like almost always one of these, whether it's, the climax of Mass Effect 2 or like Evil Within just did a whole series on this. Like there's a whole, if only they'd played games, but they haven't played those stage plays.
Yeah, Quinny hasn't even seen a single stage play.
I know, right?
Not with
I think
you
we
guys.
didn't ruin Lord of the Rings for him. Okay, great. That brings us to another gerbil. You see nothing. And
God, Tom.
Juniper.
Yeah.
What would you like to do? There's that one gerbil on the wall. You're all like edging forward.
How
You're kind
close
of
is
click-clacking.
it?
It's pretty. I mean, Ryan, you said your butthole's field is 15 feet.
15 feet in all directions from him, yeah.
All right, so it's probably about 20 feet away. It probably it got as close to this as it could before it stopped, and now it is just stopped and watching.
Are we like? Is it on like a wall? Like we're on like a bridge?
Yeah, so you're crossing the chasm. It is below you, like basically, like on the walls of the ravine that go down. It is like it was climbing up that wall. In theory, probably to like leap up onto the bridge and attack you, but it stopped. So it's just a little below you. Probably like we'll say if you're crossing the bridge, it's a little bit off to the left, but
Yeah.
it is holding.
I'd like, if I can, to skitter quickly down to it and touch it if I can. I would like to cast Cleansing Touch to end a spell that's on it.
Okay. So you're going to leave the field to go tip-tap. Okay. So Juniper, you kind of like skitter ahead, suspended with your like wheels above the ground. Kind of, we'll see you like go down and under the bridge and like run along the bottom of the bridge, and skitter over towards it. As soon as you leave the field, it leaps at you.
Well, that's great. I'll be able to touch it. It's doing half the work.
100% true. That is, what's your AC again?
21.
21. All right. So that is 2 hits.
Good God.
I will let you do your thing now, though, and then I'll tell you how much damage you take. Because I feel like this will happen. This will go off simultaneously. Like you reach out as you are, it's like gnashing at you and slashing at you.
Yep. This is my action. It's my action part. It's all part of it. Just like trying to end a spell that's controlling it, hoping it's a spell.
Well, Butthole up top like reaches over to make sure Quinny's there, and then he reaches back and he makes sure that Goblin Jr.'s there and Reginald, and then he reaches over for Juniper and he's like, uh-oh.
Okay. So you reach out, press your hand against it. It is cold and clammy. And you attempt to cleanse it as it drives its cracked teeth into your arm. And for your trouble, you get a raked across the face for a total of 35 damage from the 2 attacks.
Jesus.
No spell is dispelled.
All right. Well, important information to have.
Yep.
Has anybody seen Juniper? Up top, no idea because it's happening at a different angle.
You just hear like shrieking, like, it's not a spell. Not a spell.
What?
What?
It's coming from below.
But no, I'm doing the spell so that we can get across the bridge and then leave. I bet she tried to touch one of them. I bet she tried to touch it. I bet she did. Why would she do that? Like she's got a big heart, but it's we all make mistakes. But I told her that it was a murder gerbil. Quinny, would you pet a murder gerbil?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay, do we have to help her? I don't really know how to do that because she's upside down and under the bridge.
We'll have to figure something out.
Reach the creature, she would have like, well, no, you're right. She would, because it jumped her as soon as she got out of the field. So yes, she's under the bridge. Just like the red
Well, then I
hot chili
guess we
peppers.
got to do the rope thing. And Butthole is already tying a rope around Quinny's waist to just like sling him under to go help.
Great. The gerbil up top writhes like particularly violently once more, and you hear a rending of bone, just like a sickening, squelching crack as bones crack in it. It slumps kind of down to the ledge and then starts claw dragging itself towards the edge. Bring us to the top of the round. Reginald. You've reached I guess we're not all moving together because we're doing team rope escapades. So
yeah,
Reginald's not leaving the edge.
Reginald's not leaving this fucking field. I think he's just, if that one is it pulling itself towards the ledge to like fall towards where they are or towards?
It's so it is behind you. It's at the far end of the bridge. So if it pulls itself off of this, it's going to have to drag its ass across the bridge to get you. So it's still a ways away.
I think Reginald is going to be on security then. If Butthole is like starting to tie a rope around Quinny, then Reginald's just going to be there with like the hammer hefted, just ready to bat anything that comes at them off either side.
Cool. I dig that. Quinny, you're going for a ride.
Yep, I guess so. Does that mean that the rope is tied, or is it hasn't been tied yet? Because it's
we can say it's tied. I gotta make you burn a turn waiting for a knot.
Well, I was just going to go without the rope. All right. So Quinny says, hang on, Juniper, we're coming. And I'll just jump off the side of the bridge. What does he see?
Well, I mean, first, and I know I don't really care, but I need that acrobatics check from you.
It's a 13. 28.
Cool. All right, so leaping out over the edge, you see Juniper having kind of reached out to touch this gerbil, and it is like on her and clawing at her. This one doesn't seem to be making any attempt to escape. It's instead just like focused on the gnashing of teeth and the slashing of claws.
All right, then as I'm jumping over the side of the bridge upside down, I fire off to eldritch blasts.
Yep, go
try
for
to
it.
get this thing off of Juniper. Natural 20.
Nice.
And the second blast is going to be 22.
Both hit.
All right. So are we rolling double damage dice for the nat 20? Yeah. Okay. So that is... sorry, my brain just went away for a minute. 13 damage, and it gets pushed away from her 10 feet, and then a little follow-up shot, 9 damage.
Plus another 10 feet.
Plus another 10 feet, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Amazing. So you blast this thing, it ricochets off one of the walls, and you just hear a crack and crunch of bones, and it sort of like tumble flails down into the ravine. Notably, no cries of pain or any exclamations.
Just as the rope goes taut, Quinny would just like to swing under the bridge and loop back up and land on the top again in the field of safety.
Racing your way home. It's fine. You soar up and over and land successfully.
Great. Quinny will untie the rope and he'll say, she should be able to get up on her own. She's got the spider legs going.
Yeah. So Juniper, you're able to rejoin. With the immediate threats kind of handled, all of you are able to move kind of across the bridge and into the large sort of tunnel gap. You've got a little bit of a...
Juniper will relay to that they were like, it was cold to the touch, maybe undead.
Yeah, you can actually have this chat if you want, because you basically find yourselves in a large bored out tunnel. No worries. That kind of leads up, and you've got a little bit of a climb ahead of you. It's clear again that this is an expansion space. You can actually see an old path in the center that is much more ornate, much more in line with the the break room of mourning. But it seems as though the space around it has been hollowed out in a much more cavalier fashion, suggesting that the break room was there a long time ago and the rest of it was dug out later. But we do have a few.
This
moments.
feels like another stretch goal, says Butthole.
Yeah. Because this is purely a transport tunnel, there aren't a bunch of those little alcoves off of this one. So you have a couple moments to catch up. So I feel like a few of the characters in the party will probably have something to say about cold, clammy stuff. So I'll leave it to you.
Yeah. Just so I understand the context of this conversation, though, we're still being protected by a Butthole's spell.
Yeah,
and we're still being pursued by these mole rat creatures, right?
Two of them are pretty well incapacitated. There's the one that you eldritch blasted away. There's the other one that cracked its own bones that is slowly slouching towards you. One of them is unaccounted for, but the walls in here are smooth. There aren't cracks. There aren't crevices. So it's just like
two directions they could come from. Ahead
that's
of us
right.
And behind
Yeah.
us. Right. Okay.
Yeah. So it's one of those kind of like, and these like this always like bugs the hell out of me in like video games or honestly in horror movies, where it's like the threat is still back there, but it's back there, and it like for now at least it can't really come too much closer to you. You don't think. Okay. So I think it's like it's not like a casual jaunty walk, but it is we're keeping an eye on the scary thing that's back there, but it's back there kind of
right.
walk.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Juniper, what the hell were you thinking?
Well, I was thinking if they were being controlled by a spell and I could end the spell, then we'd have a, gerbil on our side.
Oh, and you got to touch him to do that?
Yeah, it's cleansing touch.
This kind of feels
All
like
right.
if we're on our way for a suicide mission to try to take over a kingdom, then risking one's life by abandoning the team into a very hard position for anyone to help you in the hopes of saving a single gerbil may not be the best call.
I mean, we learned something. Take what we can get out of this.
Also,
Yeah,
the
I'm not saying we should
they're
abandon the knowledge.
Look, also they're cold and clammy. I'm thinking they might not even be alive.
I mean, that makes sense because we haven't seen any poop. And,
Well, then-
they seem pretty big, so they probably would have pooped everywhere. I don't know if you've been in buildings with rats. Oh, I've been in buildings with rats, and they shit all over the place. Right where they eat. It's disgusting. They're like most of my soldiers.
Okay, but then it's not magic that's reanimated them? Is this a result of, hell tipping over and all the dead coming back to life that way? That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I mean, what kind of spell did you try to cast on it? Butthole asks, just so I can clarify which voice you're engaging with.
I tried to end a spell.
Oh. Well, they could have been animated maybe by a potion or something or some other thing going on. Cold is bad. But yeah, so I think, okay, we'll try some stuff to see if we can stop them if they're undead. That feels like a good strategic move. And Juniper, don't run away to places where we can't get to you because that's bad for you and for us.
Given that we have a haven with a room full of potions, do we know anything about potions to reanimate the dead? Especially that it used to belong to a guy who wanted to save his wife?
You can roll me an investigation and spend 2 stress.
Okay. 14 and... Oh, dirty 20.
All right. It's definitely been attempted. I think it would be some pretty high level shit to alchemically do that. I don't know if there is such a potion available in 5e offhand. Maybe the internet can tell me. But my gut, like my GM ruling before I actually looked this up, is that it would be very fucking rare. I'm sure it's possible, but like you got to do some pretty heinous shit to get necromancy working in any real way. And if it's like reanimate a corpse to just kind of run around and attack stuff, I don't know. But let's find out. Reanimate. corpse. Yeah, there we go. 5e.
While we're all
dead.
thinking on this, Juniper is laying on hands on herself, so she's not quite as fucked up.
And Butthole is formulating a plan for when his hammers run out.
Yeah, so it looks like there is an oil of animate dead that would allow you to rub it onto a corpse or bones to create a zombie or a skeleton. So, hypothetically possible. I think what you would have found from the necromancer's notes, for that specific necromancer at least, is that it wasn't a viable... It's too costly, too unpredictable, and not sustainable. Which for him was a real problem because sustainability was kind of the name of the game. Okay. You just want to bring her back and be like, "Hi, what's up?" Yeah, but possible. Apropos of nothing, the one feature this tunnel does have that seems to have been added after things were bored out are basically at a third. Every quarter of the tunnel. There is another broken or kind of like ancient glass cylinder atop a stone cylinder with small, like a little bin next to it. Noticeably no cups. There are no cups in any of these.
Filled with the blue liquid?
No, all these are, they're like, you might find one that has some like real scummy slime in the bottom, but there's no blue liquid in any of these.
Okay, so we can try stuff if they're undead, and I've got an idea, if the light was keeping them back, of what we can do when my little hammer people run out. But how do we get out of here? Obviously,
That
there's
way.
kind of...
It's a tunnel. So not the way we just came, that way.
I kind of like that. Okay, that's a good plan. Let's do that. Butthole's just thrilled and ready to march onwards. He's not going to ask more questions. He believes people's philosophies.
All right. Amazing. So up you go. You continue sort of up the rampway, and you come to sort of a small junction area with a variety of paths kind of jutting off of it. Again, this is like because this tunnel is large, it opens into a large junction area. The three tunnels that lead off of this space are all also large. Unfortunately, they're about the same size as the one you just came through. The one on your left looks very like well crafted. It's relatively ornate. Not quite as clean as the break room of mourning, but definitely in that same style. There's clearly been a lot of like care and attention put into this. There were one directly ahead of you, gives off you can actually feel heat, just like a faint warm breeze coming from it. And the one to your right has a variety of tracks built into it that kind of terminate at this junction point. And you can see there have been some sort of like hollowed out alcoves to either side of that entrance with large rusted out mine carts, larger than the ones you saw before and markedly less ornate.
All right, well, I would say... fuck the alcoves, that's where bad things happen. The fancy way is probably a straight shot out. However, if we feel a breeze here, air has to come from somewhere that isn't deeper in the cave. So I'm thinking we go up the breeze path, says Reginald, hefting his hammer, looking nervous.
Are we in a car yet, Reginald?
That's a great question. Where we are right now is underground. I don't know, there's no map.
I'm just saying the plan is to come up from underground once we're in a car. If we
I
come
think
up
that's
to
a
the surface
secondary
level,
goal. I think our first goal is to not die in this cave. So if we can get up somewhere, fuck it, I'll fly you over the wall. I don't give a shit. I don't know where we are. It's very scary down here. Why is this a thing?
because I'm pretty sure the plan is not to come up above where scouts or sentries can see us until it's time for us to come up in the heart of a car.
Well, do should we go look? You could turn invisible and like climb out and see where we are. Maybe it'll give us an idea of where the hell we are relative to the rest of the world. If there's an opening, again, it's just this tunnel.
We could try that, yeah. Juniper, did your other persona have anything on the map up to this point, or is this all new now?
No, we hadn't really entered here yet, so aside from that exit that we, just passed through, no.
Juniper, can you roll me a let's go with wisdom.
Who's rolling?
Juniper.
Just straight wisdom?
Wisdom save, please.
Darn it, says Butthole. I was really hoping we could rely on those etchings.
I'll give you advantage.
Oh, that's better. 24.
Butthole, it seems like you may have hit on what I was going for here anyway, but it occurs to you, Juniper, that if, like a good hotel, they etched maps into the wall previously, there may be one in here as well. So quick look around. Sure enough, you find one etched into the wall that you can do a rubbing of. This one is a little bit more complete.
That's nice.
Looks older. The previous one, as you'll recall, was written in a bunch of different hands.
Yeah.
This one looks to be the work of 3, and all of them are very professional looking. So you can see 3 distinct styles. The easiest way I can describe this is like, the J.R.R. Tolkien embellishments he would add where he'd like put like 2 dots. Like it's that kind of script. Even though it's done in different hands, you can tell that all 3 people are like practiced etching calligraphers, if that's etchists, I suppose, and or sketchists. So yeah, you can tell that it's much more workmanly. There's an artistic quality to it. From what you can see here, this junction leads off into sort of a few different spaces. What's odd is there's nothing odd. There is to your left. It seems to lead to the big desk. And that one is like written in like some proper fucking calligraphy. And there's even a small sketch of a very, very benevolent looking dwarf, but like done in that Norse style where it's like very much in profile, but very benevolently, like arms in the air, like rays of like light coming out of his hands. So that's to your left. Directly ahead of you, there is a storage space. It's this one is done a lot quicker and less fancy, but it's essentially just a large storage space, and it says processing and sorting. And to your right, it leads off into a massive room labeled main dig site. Off of the main dig site, there are another sort of few small offshoots, but they all just seem to be to kind of like functional mine spaces. So nothing particularly interesting. Of note to Reginald, perhaps more than anyone, there is not a clearly defined exit anywhere on this map. It seems to terminate in all of these various rooms. Knowing that these are sort of like deep mining dwarves, that's not entirely surprising, but it does stand out as odd given what Reginald knows of the mines.
All right, so that's weird as hell. I would say we go to the big guy's office. If someone's going to have a map, it'll be the person running the mine.
That makes sense.
Couldn't agree
to me.
more.
Wouldn't mind stopping by storage, just briefly see if we can nab something good. Might be useful, might be tools, might be weapons, I don't know. Might be
All
some
right.
money.
I think let's rob the storage and then rob the boss's office. This is great.
So storage first or boss's office first?
Storage first, then boss's office.
Yeah, works for me.
Amazing. Okay. So keeping together in your field of tiny buttholes, you make your way through the junction straight ahead. And as you walk, you actually descend a flight of like roughly hewn stairs. There's a ramp. You can see there are like inlaid tracks. However, they've been filled in. So it's a little bit like if you're ever on a street that has like streetcar tracks in it where they've just like poured asphalt into it to try and level it out. And it's generally a really shitty job.
Yeah.
You can still see the metal, but it's that kind of situation. And as you move down, you just find yourselves getting hotter and hotter. And it's not like a breeze so much; it's just a heat that's sort of sitting in the air. And as you reach the bottom of the ramp at the stairs, it's you're getting a little sweaty. It's kind of gross, and you can smell a deep earthy smell. And you're surprised as you step in, sort of as you reach the bottom of the landing, not to find the promised storage room, but instead to find a large, ancient, abandoned forge.
This episode of Dum-Dums and Dragons features the voices of Ryan LaPlante at the Ryan LaPlante on Twitter, Tyler Hewitt at Tyler_Hewitt on Twitter, Laura Hamstra at EL Hamstring on Twitter, and our DM Tom McGee at McGeeTD on Twitter. This episode's sound was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and Dum-Dums and Dragons artwork is by Del Borovic, who can be found at delborovic.com. Our theme songs are And Now for That Massive Coronary and Skipping Through the Orchestra Pit Part 1 by Peter Gresser, and our ad music is No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR, all available at freemusicarchive.org. When it comes to Dum-Dums and Dice, you can visit our website at dumdumdice.com. Our Twitter and Instagram are at dumdumdice, and on Facebook at facebook.com/dumdumdice. But most importantly, we've got merchandise at redbubble.com/people/dumdumdice, or you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/dumdumdice. That's DUMBDUMBDICE. And tune in next week for more Dum-Dums and Dragons. Dum-Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time. The Half-Blind Prophet, Christopher Little, Sue One, George Dolby, Richard Cranium, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Logan, Fire Unfriendly, Grandma Likes D&D, Alan, Stabby Stranger, Glitch Trick, Roman Brown, Spot Allen, Flynn1138, Alarain Okapi, OMG, it's Big Nick, D&D and Things, Norma Byers, Schrodinger's Pepper, Guy Edwards, Flea Unit, Madre de Gatos, Lady Maiden, Melissa Rain, Nithrian, Garbo Ape, Locke, Sam Schaefer, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.